Hey guys, my name is Jason with S&J Forest Products, and today's video is going to be a little like an update video, kind of a work in progress video. It's end of February here. I'm getting ready to replant. As you can see behind me there, I had one of those skid steer mowers in here, and about a week ago, and I was trying to mow down all the vegetation in here, and it did okay. The mower did okay, but the skid steer I had, it was a little SLV or SVL 75s, and it was just a little bit too small. The tracks were too small. I mean, you can see it's flat here, and I was getting it stuck, getting a little hole and get stuck. But I got it mowed down pretty good, so I'm getting ready to replant here in the next couple days. Well, about 2 or 3 weeks. But one of the things I got to do is while I was mowing, I found a whole bunch of extra cedar. And this is that real valuable wood that I have on my property. And it's real rot resistant, real bug resistant. And so I was actually, literally some of these pieces, I was digging them out of the ground. Once I mowed it down, these may have fallen 2, 3, 5 years ago and got covered in brush. And with that little skid steer, I was in here and I could see them. Once I got it mowed, I was digging them up. But let me show you here. The wood is still perfect. I mean, there's a little teeny tiny rind of wood that's not very good. And as soon as you get that off the sawmill, all the way through to the heart is good on all of these logs. They look just ratty as can be on the surface, but you cut into them just a little ways and they're just beautiful, beautiful logs. I also am trying to get as many seedlings planted as I can. And while I was mowing, I had to be careful. There's a bunch of little volunteers coming up here, mostly hemlock and spruce, which is okay. I'm going to be planting more cedar and fir in here. But I want to show you something I noticed while I was out here mowing. So while I was out mowing, I uncovered a bunch of these stumps like this. And these are the cedar stumps. They logged this about 5 years ago. And as you can see on the stumps, it's just absolutely covered in little seedlings, little volunteer seedlings, which is awesome because that's, one I don't have to plant. And there's a spruce coming up over there. I don't know where, there it is. That's maybe 4 or 5 years old. So I had to be real careful that I was saving some of those. But what I want to do is on the landing, I have a pile of rounds from the old logging operation that look, they're better shape than that, but they're kind of like this. They're just rounds. They cut off the butts of the cedar. Some have rot in them, some don't. But I'm going to try and take those rounds and place them out, especially in my canary grass, that if you've been following along the channel the last couple of years, I've been having a heck of a time getting planted, because the canary grass, which is this stuff, is so invasive and it just mats down everything and it smothers anything you plant in it. But I'm thinking if you can get a 2 or 3 foot high round that the canary grass doesn't flop over on, then maybe they'll naturally seed. And if I just plop a bunch of rounds out, this isn't a good example, but out in the canary grass, maybe I can get a bunch of volunteers coming. But where's my skidder? My skidder's over there. So let's go over. We'll get a pile of these logs. I think I have 4 or 5 piles. We'll get some of these logs choked up and skidded to the landing. And this is really the last thing I have to do in here before I replant. And once I replant, I won't be able to get my skidder in here anymore because I don't want to squash all my new seedlings. So here's one where I came through with the mower actually, but there's a nice, perfectly, before I squashed it, but he'll be fine. A perfectly healthy little cedar that's naturally seeded itself, and that'll grow into a nice big tree, and it's one less that I have to plant. So let me go get the skidder started and we'll yard some logs. All right, well, I have that whole pile There's 2, 4, 6, 7 logs there all choked with one choker. Let's see if I can drag them all out of the woods in one bunch. All right, I'm pretty excited because I got this turn wrapped in one 8-foot choker. And then I've got these 2 logs in a 6-foot and these 2 logs in a 6-foot. And let me show you how a choker works here. If I can do it with one hand. Goes through the bell, the knob, the bell. Knob goes through the bell and turns 90. Then you take the other knob, put it through here. It goes through, and then you pull it down in the bottom. And that hooks onto the main line, which goes back to that one, up to the skidder winch. And that one will pull first to here, grab that one, it'll pull to there, they'll all bunch up, and they'll pull up to the logging arch there. All right, we've got all our cedar drug out of the woods, and now we're ready to replant. And let me go show you what's under that blue tarp over there. 8,000 seedlings in all those bags. I've got Western Red Cedar and I got Doug Fir. So I got a crew coming tomorrow. We're gonna put all these guys in the ground. Well, unfortunately my skidders broke down right now. I blew a hydraulic hose and my crew's coming tomorrow to plant. So I gotta get these things out into the woods to where we're planting. So my Band-Aid for today is I got my excavator, I got the steel tub. I'm gonna throw a bunch of these seedlings here in the tub and drag it out there with the excavator and get them set. Like I say, I should have used the skidder for this, but right now it's busted. So we'll see how this goes. This will be a little bit of an exciting adventure. Well, there's half my trees in that bin and in the bucket. 4,000 altogether. So we'll see if we can get them out there without dropping them and spilling them all in the mud and running over them and crushing them and all kinds of problems. All right, we made it. We're out here in the woods in our planting site. Here's where I've mowed and got everything knocked down out in there. So we should be all set for tomorrow. Hopefully we can get all 8,000 of these trees in the ground tomorrow. So here's a little Doug Fir that we planted. And we planted 3 or 4 different species. We planted Doug Fir, cedar, I planted some sequoias in here, and some spruce and grand fir. So we had 5 different species. The Doug fir are going to be the most vigorous and the best suited for the climate probably. And you can see this one, the growth for this one this year is about 10 inches. And this was in a spot where it was a little bit clear of canary grass. And so it really had a good chance to get up and grow and put on some nice growth this year. I used the pink flagging to identify them, and my thought was that even in July and August I could come through and identify them with the pink flagging. But the canary grass was 6 or 8 feet high, and actually I couldn't see any trees since I planted in the spring and flagged them. I came back in July and August hoping to kind of clear the canary grass around them, and I couldn't find anything. Right now it's the end of December. It's snowed a couple times. We had an ice storm in here, and all this canary grass has been squashed down, and these trees are sticking up through, so now we can see them. In September and October, I came through and kind of in half of this field here behind me, I found what I could and moved the grass around. Down farther, I haven't even been down there yet. So a lot of the trees you're seeing now, I've probably opened up in, like I say, September, October, but we'll go and take a look down at the bottom of the field here. And what typically happens is the canary grass just totally squashed the tree, covered it, and then I could find the flag sticking up after the snow, and I can move the canary grass away and the tree pops right up and it's gonna go, just fine. On a tree like this, I think that this spring and summer, it's gonna grow another foot or 2. And by then it'll be up high enough, it'll be robust enough in the trunk that it can survive the canary grass falling over and stuff in the fall. And then after that, it's free to grow. It's gonna grow like crazy. But getting that first or second year, getting them up above the canary grass, getting them strong enough where they can overcome the canary grass falling down on them, that's the key. And it's gonna take a lot more maintenance than I was hoping about doing. But if that's what it takes to get a forest in this canary grass field, that's what we're gonna have to do. And I planted this in the spring, so this is just 1 year of growth. And this tree was about 2 feet tall when I planted it. I think from the little bit I've seen in the field so far, if you can come in and plant maybe a 3-year-old tree, like anywhere from 2 to 3 foot high tree, and it grows a foot that first year, you're home free. You probably don't need to do a whole lot of maintenance, but because mine were a little bit shorter, this was probably one of the taller trees that I planted. But a lot of mine were in the 12 to 24 inches, and it's just gonna take a little more maintenance for me to get them cleared out and get them growing up past the canary grass. All right, last update for this video. It's now into May. It's turned into a jungle out here. As you can see, all the bracken fern and the maidenhair fern are coming up, the canary grass, some places 4, 5, 6 feet tall. And I talked about all those 8,000 trees I planted. A lot of them were cedar. And there's one right here behind me, right here. Let me show you. I planted them in March, like the first week of March, and then the deer, the elk came through and nibbled every one of them. They just came through and they ate it all the way down to the woody stem. And I hope it'll recover. I walked through about a month ago and they were almost 99% of the ones I found were all eaten down to just like this. And I think they're still alive. They're still coming through, but just really disappointed. And this is probably one of the clearest areas I have after I mowed, but still it's really hard to find them in here. Here's one. It's starting to bud out right there. So I can get in focus. There you go. Starting to come out and bud out. So they're not dead, but it probably set them behind 2 or 3 years getting nipped like that. Every single one of them. 99 out of 100. Really irritating. So there you go. There's the update. I am continually learning. It's a lot harder than I thought it was going to be to plant trees and just have them grow. Between the wet and the deer and the cold and the hot, a lot of them have died. So stay tuned. I got some other plans coming up this summer and fall I want to try. But now this summer, I'm just gonna let them grow, and hopefully I can find most of them this fall and stake them, and then I gotta cone them to protect them from the deer and elk over the winter. So stay tuned, and thanks for watching.